You know, I heard some guys calling it the perfect pilferage, huh? The stick-up of the century. The heist of all history.
Ooh.
Call it what you want. Every true thief dreams of that one flawless, in-and-out, set-for-life job. And on January 17th, 1950, for one night in Boston, it all came together. Months of meticulous planning, perfectly made-up custom keys, ingenious outfits. This robbery had it all. In episode 4 of our heist seasons, we tell the story of the Great Brinks Robbery of 1950. Who was involved? How did they pull off the near-perfect theft? And what happened afterwards? I'm Jakey Swindler Storielli. Sitting across from me is Jimmy Night Owl O'Brien, and this is Laughs from the Past.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Laughs from the Past. My name is Jimmy. That was Jake on the intro, where you kind of started somewhat normal, and then you went into...
I read the word Boston, and that screwed up everything for me.
Well, yeah, as soon as you said four, then you went into, like, you did a little DeVito, you did a little Pachinci.
Marissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei got involved. Is this take place in the East Coast? Did I miss it?
So for one night in Boston.
In Boston.
So that's in the second sentence. That changed everything. I was trying to do like a greaser, I don't know. I don't have a 50s voice because it's not 1920s. I don't know. We got it.
It's Heist. It's season 9 of Laughs from the Past. The Great Brinks Robbery, written by Noah Prince. I am excited about this one. I'm excited about all the heists, and it's a great name. Do you like your nickname that he gave you, Jakey Swindler Storielli?
Yeah, sure. What about Night Owl?
I like it. I'm not a Night Owl anymore. Used to be.
Used to be.
Used to be. Jimmy Slide Left holds up the sign that producer Luke held up a sign that said Swide Left.
Swide Left, they'll say.
Here in the Roosevelt Studios, RSVLTS Studios. They got a bunch of cool shirts. Maybe they need a line of dead president shirts.
Yeah.
Do they have those?
Maybe. I don't know.
All right, let's get into this story.
Yeah.
For decades, the most well-known robberies in America focused on banks. That was, after all, where massive amounts of money were stored. Jake?
Big facts early from Noah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Noah.
Now banks don't have money anymore now?
It's all in the rocks.
They still have money. I was testing you.
Still got it.
I was testing you. The money was stored, and it was transacted, and it was traded in the banks. It was the natural place to conduct a robbery.
We are in early lockstep.
We all agree?
Yes.
Okay.
The banks have the money, and it's a natural place to be stolen from.
But small-time crook and master lockpicker Anthony Fats Pino had other ideas. He wanted to rob the bakery.
Can't give me a character named Fats Pino.
You haven't even seen his picture yet.
Yeah, I will.
You're going to love it when you scroll down.
I will.
Why not, he thought. Look somewhere else other than your classic bank robbery. That's been done before. That's old hat.
Boring.
After all, money had to be moved in between banks, kept at other locations, and moved again. Why not focus on the other places? Thus, the Great Brinks Robbery was born.
Okay. Wondering if this is Brinks, the company that we're all kind of familiar with, or if they were just referred to as like Brink trucks, or if it's a Q-tip effect. Interested.
The character from Brink, Disney Channel movie?
Could be.
He could be involved. Once Fats Pino had conceived the original idea, he began to assemble a small but trusted crew. This wouldn't be any ordinary robbery. This would be well thought out. They would plan, test, readjust, test again, until everything came together. Did you see the picture of him?
I have not. We're about to scroll down and see the picture. Jimmy had an audible reaction when he did. That's yeah. We got a... What do you call that? I mean, is that... It's like almost a high and tight haircut with a little kid haircut on top with a middle split.
It's just a crazy look.
Yeah, big eyes, a little
He
thick.
doesn't look like a guy that's going to plan, test.
I would have liked Fats Pino to be a little more fat.
Well, you haven't seen his belly yet.
That's true.
Oh, my tire.
That's a pretty good neck for him if he's got a big belly, though.
He's a walking tire swing. That was his other nickname.
That's... Stay tuned. Teaser.
The team begins planning. Fats Pino would quickly begin to assemble a small team to begin the planning phase of the robbery. He brought in Joseph Specs O'Keefe, Joseph Big Joe McGinnis, and Stanley Gus Gasora.
Okay. We're assuming Specs has glasses. I think that's a pretty safe enough assumption to make. We've got Big Joe, which the question on our end would be, is that an ironic Big Joe, or is that a real Big Joe? I think we're, for now, assuming a real Big Joe. And then I love Stanley Gus Gasoria.
Well, that's
your last name's Gasoria.
Not calling you that.
Then you're Gus.
I hope that...
You been Gus.
I hope Joseph O'Keefe, Specs, is huge, and Big Joe is just slightly less big.
That'd be a good twist.
Like, Specs is like, why ain't I Big Joe?
Right.
Or I hope that Specs is a buff, muscular dude that wears glasses who would love to be called Big Joe and not known by his bad eyesight. And Big Joe is just your average kind of plumpy dude.
Maybe he doesn't even have glasses.
Like, he gets to go by Big Joe?
Yeah.
I'm in the gym every day. All right. Well, they decided on the headquarters of the Brinks Armored Car Company in Boston.
There you go.
This was where all the money that Brinks transported went through. Every day money came in, money came out.
How it works.
Fat's idea would be that they would strike at the exact right moment. Perfect time to strike.
That's the best time to strike.
That's a great time.
Got to strike done.
When the bundles of money had been unloaded from the truck and were in the relative safety of the office, but had not yet been put in the vault. This is because the Brinks truck's armed guards would leave once the money was brought inside. This is when the money would be most vulnerable. So they're taking it out of the truck, they're bringing it into the office, but they're not putting it in the vault.
Right.
Because the guys who drove the truck, they weren't involved with the vault. That was a whole nother crew.
It's the delivery crew, not the vault crew.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The problem? Question mark?
Yes.
A series of locked doors that led to the office. A series of locked doors, all with different locks. Fats could maybe get through one, but after that, the bloody gums and the teeth would be sore, and he could never get through all of them before the money was put into the vault.
That's not written in there. I want to defend Noah on that.
What part?
The bloody gums and the teeth part.
Oh.
So.
That's on my copy.
Just a good catch by me. Okay.
You don't think he's chewing
I'm a little
through,
disappointed in Fats so far.
You don't think he's chewing through the locks?
If Fats' job is being the key guy, and it's like, well, we could get one door. You got multiple keys? How are we ever going to do that?
Well, how much time does he have now?
I don't know.
We don't know, like, you know. It could be he only has 10 minutes.
Not sure.
Not sure.
If they can get one key, why can't they get the rest?
Because there's not enough time.
It's a present question. I don't know. And we want to get it before the vault.
He's picking the key.
Okay.
Like, he's picking locks. He's like, hey, I
if you
pick
can
the
pick
first
locks,
door.
You'd like to think that, like, the quantity of doors wouldn't scare you.
What's the time? He wouldn't be able to do it before the money is in the vault. So there's a time element here.
I just had an idea.
Thank you,
Jimmy.
Say there's 5 doors and there's only 20 minutes. It takes him 7 minutes per one lock. He's not getting all of them done.
So then it's the time. It's not the locks, you know?
But no one's, you guys just inferred that for some reason. It says here that Fats could maybe get through one, but he could never get through all of them before the money was put into the vault.
The way that all of them is described, it makes you just think of all the doors, not the time aspect. This is a time aspect like it would be in any one.
Yeah.
Like the locksmith thing is almost irrelevant.
He can get through all of the doors easily, just not in the allotted time
so it's
available.
a time thing. It's a time thing, not a locksmith thing. Almost don't care that he's a locksmith.
But no one thought it was a locksmith thing besides you.
Me and Luke.
Yeah,
Half the current audience. So
but you guys just went there. No one sent you
literally
there.
50% of the crowd, 50% of the listeners were curious, so we cleared it up for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, I just had the idea I need to put on record that we should get a soundbite of Noah saying, keep reading, and then play that whenever you guys go off on a tangent.
That's true.
Okay. So secretly, O'Keefe.
Thank you, Luke.
You remember Mr. O'Keefe?
Kinda. I never had him, and I think that was a good thing for me and Mr. O'Keefe.
He kicked me out of class first day of school.
Yeah. You guys were not a match.
No, we were. He made an example of me and Platt, and he came out and said, hey, don't be late again. I was only harsh on you because I want to set the example right away. And they joked with us. Stuff. He's the first person that ever made me realize wear sunscreen because he got skin cancer on his face.
Yeah.
And it was pretty tough to look at.
Anyways.
Yeah. So secretly, O'Keefe and Gus entered the Brinks Depot. They picked the outside lock with an ice pick and inner door with a piece of plastic. Then they temporarily removed the cylinders from the 5 following door locks one at a time, so a locksmith could make duplicate keys for them. They temporarily removed the cylinders from the 5 following doors one at a time so a locksmith could make duplicate keys for them. They then reinstalled the original so nothing seemed amiss. They did this on successive evenings, repeating the process so they could make sure that the locks weren't being changed or switched up. So, okay, they're going there beforehand to prep this place so all the locks have the same key, basically, and they can just breeze through it.
Right.
That's cool.
Okay. So again, I was anticipating Anthony Fats Pino being a skilled locksmith, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. They're putting in their own locks, going to a locksmith to make the one key for all of those locks, then still going through all the doors, it seems.
Yeah, when
so
they
the more doors are brought in.
When they well, because they need to be able to go
right
in the time limit. So, but what I'm confused about here is when they change out the lock,
steal the money then.
Well, what about the people that are using that lock? Their key that they've been had on their chain for the last 5 years, it still works?
They then reinstalled the original, so nothing seemed amiss.
I got to reread this again.
They temporarily removed the cylinders for the 5 following door locks, one at a time so the locksmith could make a copy. They then reinstalled those originals so nothing seemed amiss.
Did they have, like, successive nights makes me think that the first night they went, did the first
door
one,
then they did door 2.
Yeah.
So they going there at like 1 a.m., grabbing the lock, bringing it to a locksmith, and then re-putting it back on, and he's making a duplicate all in like one night?
I believe so.
Yeah.
That locksmith is working fast on the duplicates.
Yeah, he's in on it. He better be getting a cut.
Yeah. Okay. So they have keys to just every door.
Yes.
That's cool. Smart.
It's a good plan as of now.
Once this was done, Pino recruited 6 other men. I'm getting nervous. That's a lot of guys.
Too big of a crew.
And you already got Big Joey and
Red
Specs.
flag.
Yeah, wow. He recruited 6 other men, including Pino's brother-in-law, Vincent Costa, Michael Vincent Geegan, Thomas Francis Richardson, Adolph Jazz Maffey, and Henry Baker. It's too many people,
Just
dude.
too many.
And the brother-in-law, that's a bad recipe. You got family involved there, you know.
So I'd say.
The gang waited for the perfect hour for their heist. Again, a great plan. A great plan. Refusing to rush even though they had all the keys. That is true. You know, hey, we can just go in.
Yeah.
Having studied the schedules of the building staff, how do you think they did that? Do you think they just got a copy when they were breaking in nonstop?
I read ahead, unfortunately, so
Okay.
I know. I'll let you tell the audience.
They were able to determine what the staff was doing based on the lights in the building windows. O'Keefe and Gus even stole the plans for the sight alarms so they could disable the alarm if needed.
Interesting.
The gang members began a routine of entering the empty building on practice runs after the staff had left for the day as Costa monitored the depot from a room of a ruined building nearby. I mean, they're really planning. I think these guys are getting more off on the planning than they are on, like, actually robbing the place.
little bit. Like, they've been to the place that they're going to rob, like, 10 times now.
If this is a sports team, you're like, Coach, this is, like, we're ready.
Yeah.
It's like Coach Carter when he makes them practice without the ball for, like, a week straight, and they're like, just let us play, man.
It's almost like they're leaving more room for them to get caught by thoroughly planning
a trail
than just getting caught by doing the crime.
Yeah.
So I do like this. Like, they've got an alarm backup plan if they need it, but I don't think they're intending to cross that line. So I like that they're planning for some worst-case scenarios. But, yeah, they're going in there too many times. And I'll deliver this because I read ahead a little bit. The gang would go on to abort the actual robbery 6 separate times due to unseen variables before they would finally go through with the attempt. So this crew got their jollies off by not robbing the place.
This crew liked prepping. Like, they went on attempt number 2. They were like, let's see what could go wrong. And then it was like, there's a dog barking across the street. And they're like, okay, radio, plans off. We need to figure out a dog plan.
I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a mole involved here that was like, we're just going to get caught. And he's like, I don't know, each time he tricks someone else into calling it off. He's like,
well, huge crew.
Hey, Big Joe, is that a light over there? Big Joe's like, oh, that might be a light. Hey, guys, I think I see a light. Let's call it off. So it's the same guy every time calling it off, but he's feeding it through different people.
There's one really nervous guy.
Great scene in the movie, Jake. That's a great plot.
Thank you.
Every time he's nudging him. Audience knows he's the mole, but they don't. Great job.
Thank you.
Hope that's the real story. The heist. On January 17th, 1950, the team decided conditions were favorable to go ahead. They donned clothing similar to that of a Brinks uniform with navy pea coats and chauffeur's caps. Now,
so did they throw those on all 6 times? Or did that develop?
And, like, if I know this crew as well as I know this crew, there was a guy like, I think we need actual Brinks uniforms. We can't just dress up kind of like them.
This is currently shaped up to be a good comedy. I mean, one guy's name is Fats Penis, and the rest of this crew is a mess. But, like, so all the times they call it off, like, one of the times I have them essentially doing the robbery, and one of them's like, yo, we should get the Brinks uniforms. And then they pass it down the line, and they're like, yeah, that'd be good.
And they call it off.
And they basically could have.
It's a montage of them going there and then calling it off. Like, one time a guy just has to shit really bad.
I got one time there's just like a beautiful woman.
And they all get distracted.
Oh, know what that is? That's the silent one. So there's a scene of these going on, and then one of them, like, there's just a beautiful woman right before they do it. And
they all turn their head to stare at her, and they crash into, like, a car in front of them, then it's off.
No. See, that's a little too old school comedy for me. For me, it's, they're getting ready. They're doing the same thing they've done to get in every time. They see the beautiful woman. They all turn their heads. And then they all just turn around the opposite direction. Like, nope, not tonight.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. One time they have, like, the money in the car, and they, like, put it back in. They're like, it didn't feel right.
If you're going full silly comedy, just like, yes. Which we might.
They also wore gloves to make sure they would leave no fingerprints and rubber-soled shoes to stay as quiet as possible.
Smart.
Good job. As the team lined up outside the outermost Brinks door, they pulled on their final disguise. Full-face Captain Marvel masks were donned so the Brinks employees couldn't identify their faces. We have a picture of the masks used.
Tough mask.
It's tough. If, like, whatever actor played Captain Marvel back then, if that was even a thing, I mean, that's a really tough mask.
It looks like a painting got punched in the face.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And it looks like that there's like a duplicate, like make this twice as big tool.
Yeah.
And someone just went ham on the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Like, no, bigger.
Thick.
Double it again.
See, I've got them staring at basic mask of the time period, but they like this one because of the big eyebrows.
I have a scene.
Italian guys.
I have a scene where one of the guys, like one of the, like he's got the tight shirts on. Sure. He's like the good looking guy of the crew. He plucked his mask's eyebrows. Oh, and when they all put it on, they look at each other and they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you gotta look good. Yeah. Look good, feel good. Pino and the driver remained in the car. Fat's not even going in?
Obviously.
While other gang members stood on the rooftop across the street, monitoring the employees' movement in the building by following what lights were on and off. At the right moment, he gave the signal, and the men on the ground pulled out the copied keys and began silently making their way through the security doors that led to the main office. The robbers did little talking. They moved with a studied precision that showed that the crime had been carefully planned and rehearsed in the preceding months. They made it to the main office, where the 5 employees were engaged in their nightly chore of checking and storing the money collected from Brinks customers that day. They quickly surprised the 5 employees, forcing them at gunpoint to lie down on the floor. Their hands were tied behind their backs, and adhesive tape was placed over their mouths.
It's got to be a bad feeling. I know you see that in a lot of movies, but hands tied up and adhesive over the mouth, probably a bad time.
There's 2 real-life stories of murder. This is dark.
Yeah.
But whenever I hear that, my brain goes, and I, like, relive those 2 that I saw. One was, like, where the term going postal comes. So yeah.
Great.
I mean.
Perfect anecdote.
It's terrible.
Yeah. We all agree.
You're trying to make jokes about it.
We're in lockstep.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're tied up. The loot was being placed in bags and stacked between the second and third doors leading to Prince Street entrance they had come through. A buzzer sounded. The robbers removed the adhesive tape from the mouth of one employee and learned that the buzzer signified that someone wanted to enter the vault area. Hey, what's that buzzer mean? Someone wants to enter the vault. Thank you. And then right back up.
Right up.
Yeah. The person ringing the buzzer was a garage attendant. 2 of the gang members moved toward the door to capture him. But as they saw the attendant begin to walk away, they decided that pursuing him would be too risky and let him walk, hoping that the suspicions hadn't been aroused. I mean, that's a nightmare for this crew.
What?
They never knew that a garage attendant hangs out every time. And
by the way, in the movie of this, you meet the garage attendant so briefly earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
It's a really chummy. If this is full comedy, it's the guy from 30 Rock, the guy with the big smile who's always Talladega Nights too. Kenny.
The dad?
Like
he just passed away.
No. The smiley guy. Like the internationally known smiley.
Oh,
Midwest
the
guy.
creepy guy.
I don't think he's known as that.
The one who goes like this. Hi. Oh. He's got a smile all the time.
Wouldn't say that's Kenneth. Kenneth the Page. Jack McBran is his real name? Jack McBriar.
Oh. When you said 30 Rock, okay, you're going to be annoyed by what happened.
Well, I'm interested. Some dots got missed along the way.
Yes, when you said 30 Rock,
right,
my brain went to Third Rock from the Sun, okay. And that guy's creepy.
Yes, agree.
Okay, yes. So I'm glad you agree with me there.
Good.
Because the guy I was thinking of, I don't want in this movie.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
We're, again, still in lockstep.
The robbers walked out at 7:30 p.m. They had taken money and 4 revolvers from the employees. The gang speedily counted their take, gave some of the members part of their cut, and agreed not to touch the rest of the money for 6 years.
Ooh, you like that.
I like that. They've been patient this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this crew doesn't get off on having the money.
Yeah.
They just get off on plans.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to delay this 6 years 7 times. Like, nah, it doesn't feel right. Let's leave it in the woods.
I bet you can't do 12.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what's wrong? You need the money so bad?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Yeah, it's good. Time enough for the statute of limitations to expire. There's statute of limitations on bank robberies?
Apparently back in the 50s.
They then split up and went their separate ways to establish separate alibis. Start to finish, the entire heist took just half an hour and like a year of planning.
Yeah.
11 career criminals from the neighborhood had pulled off the crime of the century. Their $2.7 million haul, $1.2 million of it untraceable cash. It's $12 million in today's money. It made it the largest armed robbery in U.S. history at the time, It was the perfect crime.
Okay.
Pretty cool. How did things go wrong?
And I think we finally got our first tidbit at the end, if you're not going full comedy with this, they labeled them 11 career criminals from the neighborhood. So it's almost Ocean's 11 there. And each guy's got their backstory. Yeah.
Did you see the picture that he put in here of, like, the scene of the crime?
Yeah.
I want to, there's a detective in it.
Front right?
Yeah, with the cigarette just hanging out his mouth. It's a really good picture. Like, that is what a 1950s detective looks like.
The big coat, cig.
Big coat, cig, and, like, has the matches in his hands. It's really good.
Like, the first second he walked in there, he goes, "These guys are pros."
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "What?" You haven't seen shit.
Yeah. But then you trust them.
Yeah, you do.
Then you're like, oh,
you do.
Nudges the other cop like, these guys were pros.
These guys were pros.
I heard him say it, John.
Yeah. I told you. Told you these guys were pros.
The crime was considered the perfect crime. It wasn't like the robbers knocked off the local church or the local orphanage. That seems fucked. Noah, did you just write that, or was that
have you been thinking
copy?
about that, Noah?
Noah, when you think of the perfect, the easy crime, do you think of robbing orphanages?
Okay.
All right. Noah may not be there.
Noah's dead. Noah's getting robbed as we speak.
He's still on the phone. They picked a big company that could afford, in the minds of many, to lose this money. So people took a bit of pride in it.
Nice little Robin Hood effect almost.
More importantly, no one had been killed or even hurt. That's huge. The scant evidence left proved no help to the cops. All efforts to identify the gang members through the chauffeur's hat, the rope, and the adhesive tape, which had been left in the Brinks, proved unsuccessful. The crime made headlines across the country. It became, in a sense, a very Robin Hood-like story. Even before Brinks Incorporated offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the persons responsible, the case had captured the imagination of millions of Americans. The FBI received thousands of tips and theories, and none proved fruitful.
The classic case, you open it up to the people, and they've got so many fake leads that it actually takes you away from the real ones.
Of the hundreds of New England hoodlums contacted by FBI agents in the weeks immediately following the robbery, few were willing to be interviewed. Occasionally, an offender who was facing a prison term would boast that he had hot information. "You get me released and I'll solve the case in no time," these criminals would say. Many tips were received from anonymous persons. On the night of January 17, 1952, exactly 2 years after the crime occurred, the FBI's Boston office received an anonymous telephone call from an individual who claimed he was sending a letter identifying the Brinks robbers. Information received from this individual linked 9 well-known hoodlums to the crime. After careful checking, the FBI eliminated 8 of the suspects. The 9th man had long been a principal suspect. He would soon become directly implicated. Interesting.
Who's it going to be?
Do you think one of them tried to rat out the rest so he could go get the money in 6 years? It seems like that's
a pretty good theory.
It seems like that's what's going to happen.
I know what happens in the movie, but I'm going to save it.
Okay. The first break. On February 5th, 1987, my sister Courtney was born. But in 1950, a police officer in Somerville, Massachusetts, recovered one of the 4 revolvers which had been taken by the robbers. Apparently, this gun, together with another rusty revolver, had been found on February 4th, 1950, by a group of boys who were playing on a sandbar at the edge of the Mystic River in Somerville.
Stupid boys.
Through the interviews of persons in the vicinity of the Brinks offices on the evening of January 17, 1950, the FBI learned that a 1949 green Ford truck with a canvas top had been parked near the Prince Street door of Brinks approximately the time of the robbery. From the size of the loot and the number of men involved, it was logical that the gang might have used a truck. This lead was pursued intensively.
Okay. Interested. So we got a gun and we got the truck.
Yep. On March 4th, I know someone's born on March 4th too, but I'm refraining. Pieces of an identical truck were found at a dump in Stoughton, close to where the dumped revolvers were found. And Ketylene?
Acetylene?
Do you know?
Acetylene?
Torch, some sort of torch, had been used to cut up the truck. And it appeared that a sledgehammer also had been used to smash many of the heavy parts, such as the motor. Heavy burlap bags that were used by banks to carry large sums of money were also found alongside the smashed-up truck.
Seems pretty dumb.
Had the ground not been frozen, the person or persons who abandoned the bags probably would have attempted to bury them.
Seems like a big mess. You're going to chop up a truck,
but you're
just
going
to leave bank bags? That's the first
There's
big
like
miss.
A box of matches would have helped you out with that one.
First big miss there.
2 of the participants in the Brinks robbery lived in the Stoughton area. After the truck parts were found, additional suspicion was attached to these men. The FBI was assembling a list of suspects. They just needed someone to crack. We have a picture of the burlap bags. Yeah, they were just right there.
Yeah, not for nothing, we're seeing the cool side of being like an investigator.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you get the gun, you got the truck, now you found bags. Like, stuff's happening. You're feeling pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Joseph Specs O'Keefe cracks.
Oh, no.
Damn. And look at him.
Specs is not how you wanted him to be.
No, he's kind of the nerd scientist of the group, which fits the Specs. He fits Specs.
The front half of his head, he's fully bald. The back half of his head,
he's going hedgehog mode.
Full slate of hair.
Following the robbery, Specs made a smart decision followed up by a very dumb one.
Ooh.
Remember now, the robbers had only split a small percentage of the loot, agreeing to hide the rest and only touch it after waiting 6 years, when the statute of limitations on the crime would be up. After separating from the other members of the group, O'Keefe headed for McKean County, Pennsylvania, where he would lie low for the next 5 years.
Jeez.
Spending the small portion of the loot he had. This was his smart decision. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 5 years, spend only a little bit of the money. Good for you.
What's McKean County got to offer?
Oh, love it out there.
And then he got arrested for a small-scale robbery. That was his dumb decision.
God.
Thus, O'Keefe would find himself locked away in prison as the 6-year deadline approached. Realizing he would miss out on the chance to get his share of the real loot, from his cell in Springfield, O'Keefe wrote bitter letters to members of the Brinks gang demanding his share for the money. Oh, I mean, they didn't even, write him out yet.
Yeah, maybe they did because he's acting pretty hard. I guess it's a group of robbers, and if you find out one of them's in jail, you're like, hey, dude, sorry. You're in the clink, bro.
I think you have to reach out to him and let him know.
Right.
We gotcha.
That's what they've missed. Even if you're lying about it.
Why wouldn't this guy rat?
Yeah, you can't have a bad guy against you.
Yeah. Quickly, though, it became apparent to him that he would spend his remaining days in prison, while his co-conspirators would have many years to enjoy the luxuries of life. Evidently resigned to long years in prison, O'Keefe grew increasingly bitter towards his old associates. Though long weeks of empty promises of assistance and deliberate stallings by the gang members, he began to realize that his threats were falling on deaf ears. O'Keefe was bitter about a number of matters. First, there was the money.
Yeah.
Then, there was the fact that a lot of dead wood was included in the original robbery. McGinnis, Banfield, Costa, and Pino were not in the building when the robbery took place. O'Keefe felt he had taken on considerably more risk than them, and was now being screwed out of his share. O'Keefe was also enraged that the pieces of the stolen Ford truck had been placed on the dump near his home, and he generally regretted having become associated at all with several members of the gang. He got
Too
used,
many people
man.
involved. We were right.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think Pino still gets some credit for putting the whole thing together.
I mean, it went smoothly to a degree, but here we are.
What is the gang supposed to do? Like he said, his threats were falling on deaf ears. They can't just send him $1 million while he's still in jail.
Hold
Let him
on
know.
to it. You can do anything.
Just let him know, hey, we're keeping your share, man.
Hey, you still close with Big Joe? He's going to hold on to your money.
You were a huge part of this. We respect you.
Seems like they were pretty happy to cut him out.
That sounded to me, though, like they weren't saying no. They just weren't.
They weren't saying, he needed a yes.
Yeah. But it's like he's about to spend the rest of his life in jail, they said. What are you going to do with that
No,
money?
not the rest of his life, just a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, he spent the rest of his years at one point, it said.
It's a long years in prison.
It was a small-scale robbery.
I see where both sides are coming from. You're in the clink, dude. You can't use the money.
You got to take care of this dude. If he rats, you're all done.
Right. But you have to at least lie about it. Like someone had to lie and go visit him, and nobody did that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You need to comfort him.
Either way.
At 4:20 p.m. on January 6, 1956, O'Keefe made the final decision. He was through with Pino, Baker, McGinnis, Maffey, and the other Brinks conspirators who had turned against him. All right, he told the two FBI agents assigned to interview him. What do you want to know? In a series of interviews during the succeeding days, O'Keefe related the full story of the Brinks robbery. After each interview, FBI agents worked feverishly into the night, checking all parts of his story. Many of the details had previously been obtained during the intense 5-year investigation. Other information provided by O'Keefe helped to fill the gaps which still existed. Fast forward less than a year later, and it was all over. The 8 men that were sentenced by Judge Forte on October 9th, 1956, Pino, Costa, Maffey, Geegan, Flaherty, Richardson, and Baker received life sentences for robbery, 2-year sentences for conspiracy to steal, and sentences of 8 years to 10 years for breaking and entering at night. Whoa. That one seems harsh.
Tough, yeah.
Whoa. 2 years for conspiracy to steal, but 8 for breaking and entering at night?
What if it was during the day?
That's maybe only half a month. I don't know.
Nothing. Just breaking and entering.
But what about the money?
Always.
The FBI made 2 breakthroughs at banks in Boston and Baltimore, recovering large sums of the loot. Despite this, more than 1.15 million of the currency taken in the Brinks robbery remained unaccounted for and still does to this day. That's nearly half of the original loot. So even though the participants would all eventually be caught, in a way it was still an incredibly impressive crime. Authorities had fruitlessly investigated for years, only able to finally put the pieces together once one of the gang members spilled the beans. And despite this, they would be unable to recover almost half the loot. Loot that was part of the largest heist in American history. And that is the story of the near perfect crime, the Great Brinks Robbery of 1950.
Damn. That's tough.
It's really good.
Before we get into the recap, Noah texted me. He was talking while he was muted and then screwed it up. So I want to hear his orphanage explanation.
Okay.
Noah, are you there?
Noah?
I'm here.
What do you got, kid?
So you wanted an explanation of why I wrote that stealing from an orphanage wouldn't be as popular as stealing from a large corporation?
Yeah. When you wrote that, were you picturing stealing babies or stealing money from an orphanage?
What would you, if you were going to steal from an orphanage, what would you take, Noah?
Well, I was thinking of things that stealing from them would be received really poorly publicly, and an orphanage would definitely be one of those things. I don't know what you would steal. What do they keep at orphanage?
Babies. Usually babies that don't have parents.
Kids.
Yeah. Okay. It adds up.
You guys are reading too far into it.
Okay.
I see the juxtaposition later on, Noah, but just stop thinking about robbing orphanages and churches. For your sake.
I mean, it's a really cool one. Do you want to movify it? This detective is so fucking funny.
Ooh, you zoomed in on him, yeah.
It's so good. Like
Yeah.
He's exactly what you said. He walks in 2 seconds in and goes, "These guys were pros."
Yeah. That guy's been in movies. That guy was in movies in the 50s. They said, hey, we need an actor who's a Boston cop. And they said, no. Boston detective, excuse me.
Awesome.
Okay, so I had my movie idea that was gold that now I think would be changed, or we'd have to Hollywoodize it a lot, but they do this perfect robbery, and the guy they let go, the guy that set the alarm or whatever, like he's the guy that ends up solving the crime. Like, one of the guys, they all have matching outfits. They've all got their coats. Like, one of the guys wears, like, a dumb pin, like a dumb Italian-American pin or something.
Yeah.
And then that guy, Kenneth the Page, sees that, like, 5 years later, right before the visitation, the rights that don't matter, by the way. If you rob a bank, I think the government's going to find a way to get you in trouble. But he ends up seeing the pin, he remembers, and they all go down.
It's not bad. I think you have one of the guys, as soon as he senses it all going down, he goes to the money site and gets it and gives it to his wife. And maybe at that site, someone comes right after him to do the same thing, and there's a big confrontation there. Maybe it's between, like, Fats and O'Keefe's wife. Something like that. Like, go get the money. It's at blank, 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 blank.
Yeah. Do we think there's money still out there, or do we think they used it?
They either pocketed it, stole it from each other, or gave it away. Look, here's a picture of the crew.
That's my plot.
That's Fats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you guys think plays O'Keefe, the guy who broke and told the FBI all about it?
After seeing the picture of him,
The guy from Homeland.
I've got a guy too. I have to look up his name. He's not an actor whose name you know, but I know him from one scene in a movie. So
I have an actor that I think would be good. I'll pull him up. He's from Homeland. He's like the security guy who helps carry out, if anyone's seen Homeland. He's in a lot of the seasons.
We're doing specs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, specs,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so I'm choosing James Rebhorn. Oh, apparently he passed away, so rest in peace.
Jeez.
I'll show you who he is, and I think you're going to like it. He's like this guy.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
He plays a jerk from Alabama a lot.
Yeah, he's in the opening scenes to Talented Mr. Ripley. You know, you guys have all watched that recently, so Independence Day. He looks like him, but he's no longer with us. R.I.P. So I don't know.
I'm trying to find the guy. It's man, I found the guy he's always with. I can't find him.
Maybe I'll stay with Talented Mr. Ripley. Maybe it's an older Jude Law.
Too attractive.
Throw some glasses on him. He could do some 50s stuff. Okay. You can make him look like he's from the 50s pretty easily. Okay. How old's Jude now?
Okay, this is the guy I have.
Yeah, Jude's 47. He could do it.
This guy's name is Paul Gross.
Come on.
That's his name. It's real name, Paul Gross.
I'm falling in love with my Jude Law pick. His hairline's starting to run away from him.
He's way too attractive.
Throw some glasses on him. Actors are always attractive.
Maybe his name, it's not Paul Gross.
No way.
Well, that's an actor's name, but it's not the actor I'm thinking of. God, this is frustrating.
This is.
Because he's the perfect pick. Look, you just got to put glasses on him.
Yeah, that's not bad. He'd work.
He's from Homeland.
Good Paisan, David Marciano.
Yeah, Paisan. You nerd him up a little. Like they have him nerd up a little in David Marciano is his name.
So I forgot. I left out a whole part that makes my whole movie complete. So the Kenneth the Page character that sees them doing the robbery and then leaves and then he connects the dot with the pin and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He has the rest of the money. Like, he knows where they buried it. Like, that's the final scene. He, like, follows them. He's followed them the whole time.
For, like, 5 years, he's just been tracking all of them.
Yes.
And he's the one that steals the money at the end.
There's a couple other Easter eggs that you can do.
Oh, okay. So when finally someone
He's the hot woman that walked by.
When finally... Yes, that's great. When they finally go get the money, you know, they try to dig it up before they're going to jail, and he's just waiting behind a tree. And he's like, "Are you looking for this?" And then he holds 2 bags of oranges, and they're like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, you're probably looking for that money, though. I used it to buy these oranges.
To get this disguise.
Yeah, to get this
to look like a woman.
Yeah, he pulls off all the disguises, and he's like, I'm actually the janitor.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what'd you use all the money on? He's like, the oranges in the disguise. And then it ends.
It's a different take on it.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's a different take on it.
If you're looking for bad movie endings.
Noah, you put some good time into this. What do you think we missed? What do you want to see us movie-fy more? What would you like?
I think the choice by O'Keefe to rat is an interesting one, because I kind of read some stuff about the majority of the gang thinking that because O'Keefe was so heavily involved in the robbery, he talks about he was kind of one of the guys that was actually in the Brinks office, that they thought he would never rat because he would implicate himself in the entire robbery.
Right.
So it was like, that was an interesting rationale to read. I mean, and that kind of explains why they were so ignorant of like his pleas for his money and stuff like that. I just think that whole kind of scene would be interesting. Like in the movie scene, imagining them getting around, like, screw him, he'll never talk. And then him plotting in his jail cell to like expose the whole operation.
I have one thing.
Sure.
I think we're at a 50% rate so far out of the 4 episodes that the heists were only discovered because someone ratted.
Yeah, well, you need cohesion among the thieves, and once there's money on the line,
and
we're talking about thieves.
Too many
What?
people.
Both times it was because one of them went to jail for something else. In the
Thieves,
the great gold robbery, that guy was in jail and his wife didn't get the money.
Yeah.
That's why the Joker kills everyone in Batman.
Yeah. That's why.
Kind of.
I have one that I wrote that's going to be coming up that I basically make you guys both detectives because it's still not solved.
Ooh.
And it's a wild one. So
Scary.
we've got an unsolved one coming up.
Well, unsolved for the time being.
Yeah, we'll probably take care of that real quick. And I just, one last scene I want to add to my movie that was building on what Noah said is that, we're checking in on Fats all the time. Yeah. And I think Fats does have a relationship with an officer in town. Like, the officer was a little suspect of him. Not super, but, we see some interactions with them throughout. And then Fats finds out that O'Keefe gets arrested. And he's like, oh, shit. And he, like, opens his door to go get the money from the hidden spot. And the cop's right outside his door already.
And the guy with the oranges as well.
And the oranges lady.
They made a movie about this in 1978.
About time for a remake.
You know who played Fats then?
Pacino.
No. Peter Falk. It's actually great casting, though, on the images.
One thing I read about this is that most modern heist movies are crafted to mimic this. Like, this is what sparked the modern heist movie with, like, wearing a mask, people laying down on the floor, breaking into the vaults.
It's pretty cool. They set the tone.
It's a pretty good robbery. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
We'll
Noah.
have more heists coming up, and on Thursdays we do a Little Laughs. Very quick episode. Just a quick one. A little laugh.
Job, Luke.
See you later. Goodbye. Farewell. Have fun.
Subscribe.
Subscribe, yes.
Prescribe.
Prescribe to what you need.